welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Brandy and I'm the owner of Boundless Treasure Boutiques. And today we're going to make this beautiful marbled alcohol ink tumbler. So what you're going to need is you're going to need alcohol inks, you're going to need 91% alcohol, a tray or cup so that you can place your alcohol in, a sanded and prepped tumbler, and sponges so that you can apply your alcohol inks. So the alcohol inks that I am using here are from the brand Pinata. I'll have them linked below, but the colors that I am using are Passion Purple, Magenta Senorita, Baja Blue, and Rich Gold. The sponges that I'm using, I purchased in a variety pack from Michaels, so I will have that listed and linked for you below as well. But if you don't have these kind of sponges, you can also use makeup sponges from the dollar store. They work fantastic. And you can also use paper towel or coffee filters. Those will also get the job done just as nicely. Now here I am cutting up my sponges. The ones that came in this pack were rather large, so I found that it would be easier to work with if they were cut up into smaller pieces. From there, I'm simply going to put a little bit of each one of the alcohol ink colors that I am going to use in my little tray. Again, you don't necessarily need this particular tray, but something to put your alcohol inks is definitely helpful, especially if you're new to using alcohol inks. If you're not, feel free. I've seen many tumbler creators apply the alcohol inks directly onto the tumbler themselves. I just personally did not trust myself to have the outcome that I wanted by doing that. Also, I would definitely recommend wearing gloves. I would recommend wearing them on both hands. As you can see, I only have one glove on, and I regretted it immediately as I got alcohol ink on my hand that was not gloved. So once you have all of your alcohol inks put into your tray, you're just going to want to make sure that your alcohol, your 91% alcohol is easily accessible. That's what's going to be there to help you blend. And then from there, what you're going to do is you are going to simply dab all of the alcohol inks in the colors that you want, ultimately in the places that you want. There was really no rhyme or reason to where I was placing my colors. I was just putting them where I felt that they went well on the tumbler, I guess. And then just be sure, of course, to make sure that you get the bottom of your tumbler. And you're going to repeat this process with every color. I am switching out sponges, so you'll see that I grabbed another sponge. I also flipped them to the other side. That way I am getting the color with the most pigment where I want it, and then I'm not mixing colors until I am ready to mix them. And then I just continue to repeat this process until my tumbler is entirely covered. I won't speed this up because I know many of you, much like myself, are new to using alcohol inks, and I found it very, very helpful to be able just to kind of watch the process. So I'm going to play some music for you guys and let you guys just kind of watch what I do to get this tumbler covered. start to blend. So this is where the alcohol comes in. So I'm using a perfectly clean sponge, and I am simply going into my alcohol, and from there what I'm doing is I'm just dabbing it up and down in between the colors to help them blend together. On the colors themselves, this adds a little bit more texture and depth to that space of the alcohol ink. And if there are spots that are maybe a little too bright or too dark, you'll notice that the alcohol will actually soften the color of the alcohol ink. So I just keep going back and forth over the entire cup until I am happy with the look that I'm getting, the texture that I'm getting, the blend that I'm getting. One thing that I will tell you is that I was staring at this and going through this and really being able to just put the alcohol down, step away, and then be able to come back was very, very helpful in how I achieved this look. But what I will also say is that the great thing about alcohol inks is you can go and do a completely separate tumbler and use the exact same colors, and you will have a completely different look. So each alcohol ink tumbler is completely unique. No one is identical. So that is just something that is extra super fun for me when I'm using alcohol inks, and that I really, really enjoy. So I'm just going to keep going back and forth with the alcohol until I'm happy with the blend that I have, and just overall happy with what I'm looking at. And then once I have completed my blending, which you're going to see here, I really honestly think I spent more time than I needed to, because my alcohol ink started to like get a little runny. You can see where the drips are happening. So I would have to go back in and touch them up. And then I finally paused and was like, okay, just stop. Leave the cup alone. Let's let it dry up a little bit, and then we can move on to the next step. So what I will tell you is, if you notice this happening, pause, blend it out with whatever's remaining on the sponge, and let it dry up a little bit. Alcohol inks dry super, super fast anyways, so you're not going to have to be waiting for a really, really long time for that to happen. But learn from me. Just pause every now and then and go back and look at it. I promise you, no matter what you do with the alcohol inks, it's going to turn out absolutely beautiful. I just really, really loved this technique, and it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to practice and experiment with. All right, so here I'm starting to also transition into adding my gold. Now I'm using this silicone brush, and hindsight, I say if like I'm not going to, when I do this again, I would do it a little differently. I would have let my alcohol inks dry overnight, and then when I am applying my epoxy, I would have added my gold veining. I just feel like that would have created a finer look with the gold. The gold wouldn't have spread out because of the wet alcohol. So while this turned out absolutely amazing, like I'm obsessed with how this cup turned out, I think I could have achieved a very different look with thinner gold veining on the cup itself had I done it in the epoxy versus with my silicone brush. But what I'm going to do here, friends, is I am literally just going to try and find natural lines and areas within the alcohol inks that I've already blended together. And I am going to follow those lines. As you can see here, I was not so happy with how the veining was coming out with the silicone brush. So I tried directly from the bottle itself. Again, it worked. It looked beautiful, but I would have, like I said, going back, hindsight is always 2020. I would have just waited for it to dry and then did my veining in my epoxy. I think that would have definitely achieved the look that I was hoping to get here. All right, so now we're moving on to the epoxy. Now here I'm using Marabou's alcohol ink. It's in the color Rainbow. It is a beautiful, beautiful additive to add a little shine, a little shimmer. So I added that to my epoxy just to make this cup sparkle a little bit more than the gold was pulling through, because this cup doesn't have any glitter. This just added the sparkle and shine that I was really, really looking for, and the alcohol ink worked beautifully in this epoxy. From here, friends, I simply made sure that my cup was warm, and I used roughly about 30 mLs of epoxy. The epoxy I used for this cup was Alumilite's Quick Coat. So I allowed the first coat to dry for about 3 to 4 hours until it was able to be touched, and then I went in with a second and final coat of epoxy, and from there our cup was finished. I am absolutely in love with the way this cup turned out. Definitely a technique that I'm going to continue to do. So I would absolutely love it if you guys try to recreate or have an alcohol ink of your own. Tag me in those pictures. I would absolutely love to see what you guys create with this. If you have any questions or any comments that you would like to drop, please drop them in the comment box below. I love responding to each and every one of you. And don't forget, follow me on social and join our Facebook group. I would love to see you guys all there.